YouTube, welcome back. Pass the Prop is here, ready for a multi-sport show. We got NBA and MLB on the docket for you guys today. Joined as always by my guy Stu. What's good, Stu?
Yeah, everything's good. Like you said, multi-sport day, obviously. We got NBA playoffs starting to really get going, as well as a very big MLB slate. The only problem is we could have had that MLB slate yesterday, man. I had the NBA day off. It was the perfect day. You know what I mean? To just tackle a huge MLB slate. But nope, the baseball gods did not have that in store. Instead, there was one night game, and the starting pitcher I bet got injured. So that's what I get for betting on the one game that was around, just for the sake of betting, you know. But that's a rookie mistake right there. Don't make that mistake. Do not bet for the sake of betting. But yeah, luckily we got a lot more stuff to do today. Obviously, huge NBA slate. This will really be the last time we're on Pass the Prop before the weekend prop action goes down as well. So if anyone has any questions about that, whether you're live with us or watching back later, make sure to drop it in the comments. We'll definitely get to those. So super excited, man. Like a good MLB slate, but I'm really pumped for this NBA stuff starting to kick off.
Yeah, dude, I did the same thing, but I went with lighter, and his defense didn't help him. He looked like dog shit. The stuff was good, just there was no I don't know. I felt like the sequences were not as good as like a guy who's been there for a little while. So I did the same thing, bet on him, and obviously he got lit up. So yeah, we head into today. Awesome MLB slate, fantastic. I think pretty sure every team is in action here, and a lot of those times on those Thursdays, they're all traveling and shit. So they're just like, you got to get to the next spot, and that's what kind of sucks when you don't have when all the people want to play on the weekends, right? Everybody wants to get those weekend. Hockey, basketball, all these guys want to play on the weekends there, but same thing for baseball, right? They're working on the other stuff and getting everything there. So should be good to go here for today. Let's take a look here. We got, let's take a look at the chat here. We got Hugh in there already. 10 guys in your first 2 minutes. Appreciate you guys popping in early. DeMar has potential 17 dimes. Last Miami without Levine. Yeah, this again, Stu, this is going to be all you on NBA today, man. I have absolutely zero care in the world about the NBA right now, especially now that Doc is with the Bucks and it's just kind of just gone out the wayside. So we got good NBA slate, good MLB slate. Anything you want to talk about this NBA slate before we kind of get through our recap and get going?
Well, I mean, I was curious. I mean, I know you said you're not into it. Do you have any predictions, anything, or you're just not even focused at all?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, I got 13 games to cap a day on MLB, and I actually care about it. Like, I have absolutely zero care who wins. Outside of my Bucks. And then I told you I have not watched one Bucks game since they hired Rivers because I don't like Doc Rivers. And when you don't watch your own hometown team, dude, it's just kind of like it's just like the season just keeps going.
Well,
maybe it doesn't make me sound like a real fan, but I really don't care. I can't stand Doc Rivers, so I just lost it. So
I get you, and I mean too. Looking at your Bucks, I mean losing Giannis, I mean is probably the final straw as well, right? Of I don't know if he's gonna come back. I'm not planning for him to come back, right? When I look at that spread for that series, the Pacers and Bucks are now pretty even on who's going to win that series, which tells you exactly what you need to know about Giannis's health, right? And I mean, who steps up for the Bucks is kind of my question, like Middleton at this age and this point in his career. He's one of the more popular props I see in that game at around 19.5 or 20 points. And I completely agree. But it's just, man, the number one option right now. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle things. Obviously, with Dame, kind of, I don't know. He's going to have to be Portland Dame now, not whatever Milwaukee Dame has been so far this year. So that's an interesting series. That's, to be honest, I'm looking at doing a video just where I go over every game and give some thoughts and stuff like that. And that's the one I have the least thoughts on, to be completely honest. I think that one's kind of the most unpredictable out of everything. But as you guys know, we learn more by watching these games. We get used to the rotations a little bit more and kind of pick up on details like that. And to me, that's how you win in the playoffs, right? Is kind of picking up on some of the smaller stuff and taking advantage. So I'm just excited to get into these series and stuff like that.
Yeah, shout out Bobby P. Hopefully he shows out in the playoffs here because that dude is a fucking monster, man. Yeah, and I mean, I just can't do it, man. I couldn't stand him with Boston. couldn't stand him at Philly, and now he comes here and Milwaukee. I mean, I feel like I can't be the only guy either. I just can't stand the dude. I think he's just an awful coach, and then you do all this stuff to Griffin too, and I'm like, Griffin wasn't even that bad. Like, pretty much getting ran by Giannis, like the way LeBron runs his teams. It's kind of the way it was there. So.
Yeah, 100%. It's a whole it's a recipe for disaster. You know what I mean? That whole situation, you could just tell like, maybe this isn't going to be the Bucks year this season. So we'll see. It could also make for a great story if Dame suddenly turns the switch back on and becomes Dame again. So only one way to find out, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's take a look at the recap from last show. I'm still fuming, bro. First, I'll turn it down a little bit. Kevin Gausman. I told you, I bet you I was the only guy in the world on Kevin Gausman to actually do well in that start. Dude looked phenomenal. The thing is, too, is his walks came up a little bit there. But again, when you're betting on the under like earned runs here, I don't care how deep he goes. He hit all of his strikeout props. He got us there. Only thing that he missed was the win because Toronto's bullpen is absolute dog. So Kevin Gausman gets a very nice start, good bounce back start. That's what I'm saying. Velo was up 2 miles an hour, back to where he normally is, and even harder than last year. So it's like, I know the small sample size isn't much, but I just seen a lot of people writing off a dude who's been really, really good for a long time, and just a guy that I want to continue to back there. I know Abrams went home run first pitch, I believe, but yeah. Tanner Halleck's a filthy dude, man. That dude was disgusting.
Complete game shutout. 3-4 hitter in that one? Oh my God. It was the perfect good start. CJ first at bat bomb, just in the best possible way to start a game. And then, you think Quan, he's the kind of, he's the guy, right? He's hitting 375. And then, wow, we ran into a buzzsaw right there. Obviously, I know Hawk is good. I mean, I've got multiple of these, Cutter Crawford. I've got a bunch of these guys on my season-long teams, but it's just, man, I didn't think it was going to be that good. You know what I mean? That was hats off to him, obviously. Crushed this bet, unfortunately. But, yeah, he mowed down those guys.
Yeah, he was filthy. That slider is just complete wipeout when he gets it close to the plate. Like, there's nothing you're doing with that pitch. So shout out to him, obviously. Cook's Quan there, but man, it was a hell of a performance there in the only game you could really watch at that time too, because it was a late one. So hopefully I got a lot more people to pay attention to who he is, and obviously had a hell of a start there. So the one I'm mad about obviously is the Braves. They do what the Braves do, score late in ball games, but they waited till the 8th. I was telling Stu before here, I'm like, I was licking my chops when I saw Brian Abreu come in the 7th. I'm like, this shit's locked up. We're good. We're going to score some runs this inning. They do not do anything. And then wait till Ryan Presley, a guy who's had 35-plus save seasons, and they hit him around, and they just round. The only thing I was mad about in that game was obviously this, but I also had Austin Riley RBI, and he hit a ball so hard off of Presley that it bounced over the fence on one hop, and Michael Harris couldn't come around and score. So that was the only other – it's just like – recipe for disaster, just waiting for the 8th inning, and it was very, very annoying on my end.
Yeah, I got the phone score notification, and I was like, oh, fuck, we're just an inning off right here, unfortunately. And I was telling you before the show, that's how it always feels, right? You bet the first 5, they score in the 6th. Like, you get hit with those sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's still the Braves, going to keep backing those guys a lot this year.
Yeah, dude, they're just such a good offense. There's nowhere for you to really take a break. And I'm sure we'll be talking about the Braves here shortly when we get to my plays here for the day. So we end up heading into our slate here for today. I believe it was now. Let me take the little bit off there because I forgot to 6.1. So now we're coming down a little bit here. We didn't have any long shots, so we go down to 6 units here. But obviously still profitable. Obviously the long shots from you early in the season definitely helped us out. But we did not have a long shot in the last show. But we head into today ready to roll. So Stu, anything you want to talk about these 2 games tonight before we kind of head into your plays, and then I'll obviously get into the MLB spots?
Yeah, I mean, tonight's exciting. Obviously, we got 2 play-in games. For me, I'll start with this Kings-Pelicans one real quick because I don't have any props in that game, like at all pretty much. But I did bet on the Kings to win. I bet on the Kings money line in this one. I'm not normally a money line better super aggressively, but I'm kind of struggling to understand this one, right? I mean, it's not like I'm actually been a strong kind of Kings hater this year, unfortunately. And they're a fun team. I want to root for them, but I couldn't possibly see them winning a postseason series. You know what I mean? I really didn't see the long-term vision. But man, I think this game is very winnable. Zion is out. Brandon Ingram is coming back from injury and has given you no signs of life at all, right? It's been 2 performances, one of them where he played limited minutes and was really bad, and then a playoff appearance where he was benched for Trey Murphy towards the end of the game. So for me, it's like, man, what are the Pelicans doing to deserve the respect as the favorite right here? Like, I know they can match up pretty well still. Valanciunas is normally kind of a defensive liability, but he can stick around with Sabonis in the paint. Like, I get that's a good matchup, but I don't know. When you look at the secondary players, the Keegan Murrays who just stepped up, I think he's going to really be the X factor. He's been so good at home. Can he be good on the road? I think that's kind of a little bit of a trickier thing that you'll have to watch, not just now, throughout his whole playoff career, because he's killed it at home this year. So for me, that Kings-Pelicans game, there's a lot up in the air. I think that's going to be a close one, but I'm just not quite personally understanding that line. I mean, if I just told you, right, as someone that's not really as tapped in, like Zion is not playing in this game and Ingram has been awful since coming back from injury, don't you think you'd make the Kings like at least a slight favorite in this one? I feel like that's where I'd be at.
Yeah, probably like minus 130. I don't even know what the line is. What is the line?
It depends on the book, but like plus 100. It's like even money, essentially, is what you're sitting at right now. And you got to pay minus 110 for the Pelican side.
Interesting. Yeah, I definitely would lean towards the Kings there. I do like Keegan Murray a lot, obviously, as a Big Ten guy, and the Iowa guys over there. Is Herter still out, or is he out for the year, or what's up with him?
Yeah, the shooters are not going to be in on this one, but Ellis has been huge, and I mean,
yeah, Ellis is nice.
As a defender, he just handled Steph Curry. I mean, that's an accomplishment right there. So now you're telling me CJ McCollum is going to be the guy that beats him? You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's interesting. Like, I'm looking at this line. I'm just not seeing a whole lot of reason that the Pelicans should maybe getting this level of respect. I like their defense. I like what they've done all year long, but I do think this is a game that they could lose. And it'd actually be great because then I could bet against the Kings with whoever they play next.
For sure. Yeah, you kind of got to fade them if they have any sense of a big dude.
Yeah.
Right? They're just a fade then. So talk about this MLB slate a little bit before we get into some props. I really like this slate. I do like how they're giving me that Cubs game early. I am going to fade Mr. Puck there again. But there's a lot of good games, man. I'm really curious to see why the Brewers are only minus 118 in St. Louis tonight. I feel like they should be a lot bigger favorite now that Peralta's playing or throwing tonight. So obviously that's going to help us out a little bit there. I think he absolutely mows. If I had to pick a game that I'm looking forward to the most, I kind of want to look at this Toronto-San Diego game, right? They both pitchers kind of dog shit. Both offenses have kind of turned it up lately. We started seeing the San Diego Padres. I'm pretty sure they have the most runs scored in the MLB right now. They're kind of turning it up. Toronto started turning it up towards the end of that series with the Yankees, just absolutely smacking Stroman around, which I was not expecting them to do. So when it comes down to just fireworks, I think this could be a fun one. So I think that would be the one I would lean to as the one I like. But I'm curious why the Brewers are only minus 118 here. I know the Cardinals are at home, but it feels off.
Yeah, man, especially obviously, Peralta on the mound. I don't know. The Brewers felt like they're getting a little disrespected in general, right? When you look at their numbers recently, you said it yourself on the show the other day, though. I don't think you expected this offense.
No, I don't either.
Sir, so if you didn't, someone who's more tapped into this team than anyone I know, right, then it kind of makes sense why the sports books are maybe a little bit slower, saying, listen, we don't fully respect this team quite yet. We're thinking the regression might be coming. Stuff like that, I think, can always play into it.
Yeah, for sure. I think that we got some good spots on the slate. The Flaherty, Joe Ryan matchup will be a fun one. I know that one's going to be well talked about here today as well. So, Stu, let's get into it. I'll kick it over to you to start us off. Going with some role players today. I'd like to see it, so I'll kick it to you.
Yeah, we're going Haywood Highsmith, 1-3 and 1 steal in this one, plus 110. I want to bet on really what he does best, right? So far this year at home, 48% three-point shooter. When you look at his game logs without Jimmy Butler, so far this season, he is over in 12 of 17 with just 1-3, right? Getting to that mark. And he's obviously got to 2 in a decent amount of those. What I really like about Highsmith is this guy that if you're not familiar with the Heat, he is a defensive like monster, like an isolation defensive monster. He can go 1-on-1 pretty much 1-4 with pretty much whoever you put him out there against. Really, it was just kind of like, can he develop an offensive game? Can he kind of be a role player? And what I've really liked over the last year is number one thing in the scouting report when you read the Heat beat reporters and read everything is this is not a guy that's scared of the moment. This is not a guy that when you pass him the ball in the corner, he's going to pass out and make the extra pass when he's wide open. He knows that to bring everything he brings on the defensive side of the floor, he does need to knock down the open three to stay out there. So we saw him hit this in the first play-in game, 1-for-4. What I really like about it, though, other guys, Jaime Jaquez, he does not space the floor, right? The catch and shoot numbers are not very good. Highsmith is not necessarily a developed offensive player, but what he can do is knock down the catch and shoot three. And that's why I see the PRA bets are super popular, and I get why. I really do get why. I love Highsmith today because anytime you think a guy is going to play more minutes than the books do by a decent chunk, you really want to bet on that guy, right? Because that's obviously going to be the biggest differentiator. But when you think about what is Highsmith's duty, what is his job when he's on the court, it's not rebounding, right? It's absolutely not rebounding. He's going to be guarding DeMar DeRozan. He's going to be guarding the high usage offensive player on every snap, right? When you're talking about rebounding, you want the guy that can play off coverage. You want the guy that's matched up on Nicholas Batum and can sag off of him and grab 7 weak side rebounds. Highsmith is going to be fully engaged on defense every single possession, right? And then when you look at it, like I said, this guy's not a passer. There's no history of that ever. So really, when I get liking PRA, but when I think about it, what do I actually want to bet on? I want to bet on the two things that I know he's going to do best. And obviously the steals kind of speak for themselves. He's been super, super consistent, lodged one in that first play-in game. Like I said, I've got him for 25 minutes in this game at least. He normally never really clears that mark. He's normally in the low 20s. But obviously getting an opportunity like this, no Jimmy Butler, someone needs to step up. They're going to be heavily using him to guard DeMar DeRozan. I think all of that just screams a great opportunity for him to exceed pretty much every prop that's out there right now. So I know betting on the threes can be scary, but when you got a guy that's going to take 4 threes, likely 2 to 3 of them are going to be wide open, right? The other team essentially begging him to shoot it. You want to take advantage. So for me, I love this Highsmith combination. I think Highsmith has a great game. I think he's kind of like, I don't want to say the X factor of the series just because the Heat need to rely on a lot of X factors. They don't just need Highsmith. They actually need like Martin to play well. They need Robinson. They need multiple of these guys to step up. But I do think Highsmith is going to be a guy that we're getting good value on here and someone I definitely want to take in this matchup.
Yeah, it's tough to really justify giving this plus 115, right? When it's just kind of reminds me of like a PJ Tucker time, when he has one job, he's not going to leave that job. He's going to sit there in the corner, space out the floor. And obviously defensively, any guy who's going to be on a high usage dude for steals, I mean, to get one and be able to get this type of price is always something that I want to do and want to back there as well. So like that look, I'm going to be heading to a parlay there, not plus money, but I think it's pretty fair price here. And I'm going to head to the Braves first 5, and I'm going to pair that with Joe Ryan. 6 strikeouts today at minus 112 on FanDuel. Again, what does Ryan do well? He's got a great strikeout rate. It's phenomenal against righties. And this is a fantastic matchup for you. I mean, I don't know if you could really get a better matchup. You get him in a home start, first off. Second off, you get to see him face one of the worst strikeout teams in the league, right? You get to see him face against Minnesota Twins, or the Minnesota Twins are his team, obviously, but Detroit right there, 10 Ks a game as a team. But now you have a guy here in Joe Ryan, got elite strikeout stuff. His fastball's, I don't know what it is. It's got to have some crazy extension to it because no one can hit it. And it's going like 90, 92, 94. Got wipeout stuff here. I want to go against this Tigers team, obviously going to Minnesota after getting some home games. So first game back off of a homestand, going on a road trip here, heading to Minnesota. This is a great spot for Joe Ryan to light it up. Going over to the Braves, which is obviously going to carry most of this, right? The Braves are like minus 180 on the first 5, and I really like this spot. I know Chris. I'm not taking this because of Chris Sale. I'm not particularly a huge Chris Sale fan, but I am a very big fader of Mr. Andrew Heaney. And this is a tough spot for you, right? The Braves absolutely rake at home. They're second in OPS at home this year. They're top 10 in OPS against lefties. Ton of power up and down. Obviously, when you face you don't even have LBs in there, and you're still facing high-end dudes, right? Ozuna is probably the hottest hitter in baseball right now. You go to Acuna, who finally hit his first homer, right? You're starting to see them play good ball right now. Getting those wins over Houston in Houston, those are big wins. And now you get to head home in a big spot against the Rangers, who, again, are coming off of one of those trips, right? They just played in Detroit. Now you get to face them coming all the way down to Atlanta. First game of the home series. I think they start out a little sluggish, and going to be a tough spot. Riley Green getting lefty Chris Sale. Kerry Carpenter facing lefty Chris Sale. I think the real guy you got to worry about is Torkelson here. And I think, obviously, when you have one dude in the middle who you have to worry about, you can obviously be a little more cautious with them. So I really like the Braves first five here. I think the price is a little weird. I don't know if they know something that I don't, but I want to back this offense whenever I can. And they move some of my lines that I like to bet. Like the first 7 is like 3.5 minus 160 or minus 150. I'm not playing around with that. I think we can get that first 5 and a nice home spot here. First game of the series. Sign me up.
Yeah, man. And Ryan's one of my favorite guys, too. I mean, when you talk about the guy, like you said, pure strikeout stuff, nasty off speed, like I'm a big fan of Ryan. And if he, obviously, I think lefties kind of can be tricky at times as well.
Power issues. Yep. Power issues.
But what didn't he add? I don't want to say he added. He either started throwing it more, or I want to say it was the change or a split that he started going a little bit more heavy on. And I did see that was having some good success to start, which is definitely good news. I can't remember the exact pitch that he did.
Let me pull it up for usage so we can get that full number for you. He's throwing a splitter a little bit more this year, but he's got the sinker. But I think you're talking about the splitter for sure, because he's using it a lot more this year than he has in the past.
Yeah, I'm tapped in more to the analytics baseball community on Twitter, and these guys love the splitter. I don't know if you've noticed that. They talk about it every day. You've probably noticed it. I've brought it up more with more guys adding the splitter for lefties. I just keep seeing it mentioned, which is always interesting. That was a pitch I wanted to throw when I was young. It's always like, oh, that's a sick pitch. I can't do it. So definitely like this look right here, though. Obviously, big fan of backing Ryan in plus strikeout opportunities.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then obviously that's like minus 400, right? I think his line's like 7.5, like plus 110. So you can see the books are onto it too. As good of a matchup as you can get here at home for him. So always like to take these home teams first game of a homestand too, because you get all that hype coming back in there. And usually those Friday nights are usually sellouts because everybody's kind of coming out there, want to get to a game early on.
That's why I'm taking the Nats tonight, baby. First game of the homestand. Energy up. Let's go.
Yeah, but I don't know, dude. You got to be kind of good in their face. I mean, I don't mind their first 5 maybe, but I think Gore gets hit hard. I think Gore gets smoked.
We'll see. I hope not. I got first 5. I got first 5. We got to take
first 5 like plus 1.5 if you can, because I think he gets hit around, bro.
I mean,
I like Gore too. This is just talking to like Braves before, dude. Like this is a terrible left-handed matchup.
Oh yeah. It's brutal. But it's the 5-year Nationals anniversary of their World Series. We got first sellout of the year. We got Howie Kendrick and the boys back. They're going to be good vibes in DC tonight, and Gore is our best pitcher. So when I saw that, and I saw, even though it is a brutal lefty matchup, which did make me sad to see, Verlander, you don't really know what you're going to get. Obviously, at this point, there's enough uncertainty that I had to pull the trigger. I know this is going to be like our one sellout of the year, so I want to hope that we can harness that energy and keep up that scrappy baseball tonight.
Yeah, dude. I feel bad for lefties going against this lineup, dude. It's just like Altuve, Bregman, Smoke, lefties. Yanier Diaz has been fucking great. And then you get to hang out with 2 lefties on lefties, and you get Kyle Tucker and Jordan over 120 OPS against lefties, which is, or not WRC plus against lefties. Crazy, dude. This lineup is just nuts. And they still can't win. They just can't win baseball games, which I feel like it's had to be coming around here soon. I expect them to turn it around here. There's too talented not to. Let's kick it over to you, Stewie. You're heading back to the NBA for your second play here.
Yeah, we're staying on the defensive side of the ball. I brought up Highsmith a minute ago with his steal and 3 combo, and I love that play. And one thing I wanted to emphasize too about that game is the Heat win that game by making it as ugly as possible. I mean, I'm sure you guys have already seen the total. Like, they don't have Jimmy Butler. Like, Spo said it himself. He said, we're going to have to do it the hard way. And, like, that's the absolute fact right here. So this game, I think, is going to be just a slugfest tonight. I think there's going to be a lot of steal opportunities on both sides. Io DeSumo is someone that I wanted to take advantage of here. I love Alex Caruso. You guys know I love Alex Caruso. That's my man. I love betting on this guy. But that injury in game 1, man, it killed a couple of my bets then, unfortunately. And now he's going to play in this game. And I couldn't believe that, honestly, that he's going to try to play in this game.
Savage, bro. Savage.
He is a savage, but I don't know how that's going to go. Like, I can't bet on Caruso in this game. I absolutely can't. Just knowing, seeing the injury stuff, obviously he's going to be battling through that. He's a warrior, but like for me, I think what that means for Io is that both of these guys are already used very aggressively to blitz opposing ball handlers. That is Chicago's strategy. When you have Vucevic at center and you want to avoid points in the paint, right, the only way, you got to fight over those screens as aggressively as possible because Vucevic isn't athletic. He can't compensate on the back end, right? He's immobile down there. So your guards have to do so much and have to be so aggressive in blitzing these opposing ball handlers in hopes of, them passing out and letting a random shooter beat you. And that's kind of how you beat this Bulls team is catch and shoot, is those kind of opportunities, which is why we like Highsmith. But for me, I think Io is going to step up even more on the defensive game because him and Caruso are those guys. Javon Carter on the bench as well. They're the disruptors. They get over those screens, they attack, they cause deflections, they create chaos. And I think that's going to be so important in this game because you got to get the ball out of like Hero's hands, right? I mean, no Jimmy Butler, that's the target. That's the very clear target. Because if you can take Hero out of this game, which the Bulls are great at taking guards out of games, then it's going to be very hard for this team to do anything. So I think anytime Hero's touching the ball, there's going to be aggressive defense right in his face. And that's exactly what I like to create turnover opportunities. I'd like if it was Jimmy Butler, but he's a better passer. Now we get a guy like Hero who's more of a score first kind of guy. You maybe see him getting a little frustrated a little deeper into this game. I just think there's so many steal opportunities. And we look at the numbers, Io is already over this number in 24 of 31 games so far this season with 35 or more minutes. In his first game back, he was locked into 38 minutes. This team plays their starters more than any team in the league, and it's the playoffs. So I'd imagine he's up in that 40-minute range. And like I said, obviously that is all with Caruso, like normal circumstances. I think he's going to be thrust an even more important role on the defensive side of the ball with Caruso dealing with some lingering injury stuff and battling through it. So for me, I think it actually becomes even more beneficial right there, right? When you look at kind of the current circumstances going around with this team. And then Jonathan Isaac, I've already got his block parlayed with his rebounds is part of another play that I posted on Twitter. If you're not following me, I like Isaac on the rebounds, points, rebounds, and assists, and I've already got his block. I'm going back to it because people don't know how good of a spot this is yet, and I know I'm not going to be able to like bully them for that much longer. So we have to do it as much as possible while these lines are still somewhat playable. Guys, Jonathan Isaac so far this season is just over his last 25 games. On the season, he's averaging 1.3 blocks per game, and he's over in 19 of his last 25 games, right? That's already something that I'd look at and go, wow, that's extremely impressive. When you just go to 18 minutes played as the minimum filter, all we need is 18 minutes. He's over in 23 of his last 24 games, getting one block. Isaacs is a defensive player of the year worthy candidate. We are talking about an elite defensive player that is a guy that's been battling through a number of injuries. So his minutes have been extremely limited during the regular season. But as we've seen it in the playoffs and in this playoff rotation, at least, that they've been running these last 3 games, he's had a minimum of 22 minutes per game, right? So we know this is a guy, I don't know if he gets in the starting lineup. People are arguing about that. I don't necessarily see it. I don't care if he's in the starting lineup. I care about if you're in the closing lineup, more importantly, but I care about the minutes played. And I think his floor for minutes right now is 22 minutes. But it goes back to what I just said. I obviously think his floor is way higher than the sports book, so we should bet it in a bunch of different ways. But I think for me, when you really look at what he's elite at, right? When you look at these numbers of just, I'm talking about averaging like 12 minutes a game and still going over a block per game. Now we can almost double that. We can almost get you to 25 at the minimum. I just think these lines are flat out wrong. So for me, Isaac block, Isaac steal, I think those are so intriguing because sure, I like the PRA and stuff, but that's not what he does best. He's an elite defensive player, and they're going to need that size against a guy like Mobley, against a guy like Allen, his versatility against a guy like Donovan Mitchell. Like, he's going to be out there a lot. And I think these block props and stuff like that are a really, really good way to take advantage.
Yeah, if you can get like a ladder on stocks, yeah, if you're going to see him play 25 minutes, man, I mean, I get it. I know a lot of people will use like, oh, he plays harder because he knows he's only out there for a little while longer. But it's only 25 minutes. It's not like he's playing 28 going up to 36, right? It's still probably 6-7 minute spurts, you know? So it's like, for me, that's the way I think about it. When people use that argument, I'm like, it's not like he's playing 7-8 minute spurts and we're getting him to like a 10-11 minute spurt. It's a little bit, you know, from 4 to 5 to now 7. So obviously an elite athlete, this isn't like the first month he's back now, right? He's gotten his feet underneath him, and we saw him towards the end of the season get underneath him there when they were winning games. So Orlando's going to be a tough team if if Isaac can obviously show up here and get it done. So like that spot, always like taking those defensive numbers that you use on those, and hoping for another show out here. And I'm going back to my boy Brian Bayo here. 16.5 outs, -120. Ton of exposure to him in best ball. Ton of exposure to him on my fantasy team. I really like this spot against the Pirates. The Pirates are obviously one of the teams I like to fade. And the thing is, when I look at this Pirates team, who am I worried about? I'm worried about Jack Swinski. I'm worried about O'Neal Cruz. I'm worried about Brian Reynolds, right? I'm not really worried about Edward Olivares. I'm not really worried about Jared Triolo. I'm not really worried about Connor Joe unless it's a lefty, right? That's what I'm telling you about right now, because Brian Bayo is phenomenal against lefties, bro. This dude has everything moving away from lefties, and he's elite against them because the dude's running a really heavy sinker and a phenomenal changeup, right? And those are two pitches that if I'm going to look at a righty throwing to a lefty, those are the ones you want, right? Moving away, soft contact. Pirates are already striking out against righties at a very high clip. Thing for me is Brian Bayo, there are a lot of ties, but right now it's like 4.4 pitches per plate appearance. He's in the top 10, or I think he's like 72nd, but there's like all ties, right? The highest is 4.1, obviously going down the list. But 4.4 pitches per plate appearance. This guy wants you to put it in play, but he's done such a good job of limiting his walks this year. Every year getting better and better. 10.1% walk rate in his first season, obviously a limited sample size. Second season, 6.7. So far this year, 5.7. If we can keep moving down and just continuing to get better, his velo is still there. It's not like he's dropped velo to become a better pitcher in the zone, but hard hit rate is a lot lower than I expected it for a guy who, you know, is wanting you to put it in play. Sub 40% hard hit rate, a ton of ground balls. And again, against lefties this year so far, 195 batting average, WOBA, sub 270. He's got great stuff. And against righties, he's been phenomenal as well. 2.7 xFIP against righties versus a 5.7 FIP. That's showing you the regression is coming positively to a guy like Brian Bayo. I know he hasn't gone over this number yet. He's gone 5.1, 5.1. 5.0, but I do love that they're giving him the leash to head back out there in that sixth inning and give him a chance, right? Give him that chance, especially last outing, which was really encouraging to see him over 100 pitches. They weren't allowing him over 90, but that last outing is what gave me that little bit of a push today against a sub lineup, a subpar lineup. Like when you go against Baltimore, right? You go up against the Angels. The Angels strike out a ton, right? But they got a ton of power. I'm really worried about those teams here that are going for power, trying to strike, that will strike out more, when Brian Bayo is really not that type of guy, right? He's the guy who wants to put the ball in play and work on it that way. So sign me up for Brian Bayo. I think over 16.5 is a great price, -120 on DraftKings. All right, give me 1 sec. I got to go grab my dog. He's sounding good.
No, sounds good. I love Bayo. If you didn't watch the show before the season and we talked underdog, he's actually my most rostered starting pitcher. So I'm fully with you. And for me, the biggest thing with Bayo, which he kind of touched on in his write-up right there, was can you keep the walks down, right? Because we know the strikeout stuff is good, right? We know the stuff in general is good. It's just honestly, can you not beat yourself, right? Can you not pitch yourself into a corner right there? And that's exactly what he's kind of avoided so far this year. So I'm fully on the same page right here. I was just saying that I love that he's been able to get the control in command. Because this guy, I bet on him in his first start, in his first career start. We were on this show, and I bet his walks. And it won. So that was a win for us, obviously. But you mentioned it. He's keeping it down a little bit. They're letting him get deeper into these games. You don't see that many guys going over 100 at this point in the season. It speaks to the leash. It speaks to what the pitching staff is letting these guys do. And I think this is a good spot for Bello to keep it going.
Sounds good. I love it. Yeah, I remember that Brian Bayo and I was with you on there because he just couldn't control the ball. And we saw that by his minor league numbers as well. But great spot for him here against this Pirates team. Like, again, coming off of a tough series against the Mets and getting blown up by Luis Severino in that start. So really like the spot for Brian Bayo. And if they continue to give him a 100-plus leash, I'm going to be all over these bets every time. So, all right, Stu, let's recap here. We're a little bit over that 30-minute mark. We got 35 of you guys in here live. Hit that like button. Drop a comment, question, concern, whatever you got in there. And hopefully we'll get to it here in a sec. Let's get through our recap here.
Yep. Drop those questions, any long shot questions. Get them in right now. That's what we're about to talk. I got Haywood Highsmith to knock down 1-3 to get one steal. That is plus 110 parlayed and plus 115 over on BetMGM right now. And then we got Ao to get one steal for the Bulls, and we got Jonathan Isaac to get one block for the Magic. You parlay that together, minus 138, best price on ESPN. FanDuel right behind it at minus 140.
Beautiful. I'm going to be rolling with Braves first 5 money line with Joe Ryan, 6Ks, minus 112 on FanDuel. Also rolling with my boy Brian Bayo for the Boston Red Sox over 16.5 outs at minus 120 facing the Pirates. Stu, you got anything else for the people? You got long shot? You want to? I don't have one right now as of right now, but
yeah, I've got the natural I've got Highsmith to have the threes ladder, right? So I've got 2 threes at plus 170, which I think is a great price, and then I got 3 threes at plus 600 for Highsmith. To me, if you ask me who's going to be the Nicholas Batum of this series, because hey, I did have Nicholas Batum, not to score 20 points, but to have a good game. I think it's Highsmith, right? He's going to have those same kind of opportunities from beyond the arc, and it's just going to be how efficient can you be. So for me to ask a guy that we know is going to have 3 to 4, threes, a couple of them going to be wide open, to get plus 600 on 3 threes is definitely a long shot I like. And I don't think it stops there. I said it earlier. I like the Heat role players. There's no Duncan Robinson lines up yet. That's going to be a really interesting one. But for me, I think Kevin Love could be really interesting. The biggest thing is kind of play time, right? Can he actually get on the court enough? But 3 threes for him is plus 300. 8 rebounds for him is plus 700. I think kind of the thing I'm trying to express right here is I think the value's on the role players. I think that's where you can get a little bit more value. For me on the Pelicans game for Kings, I told you I don't have any props. I got Herb Jones 3 threes combined with him to have 2 steals in that one. I think that's a great look, right? You're getting already what we know on the defensive side of the ball. But to me, everyone's going to Trey Murphy. Everyone. 17.5 points in a playoff game is not something I can do. Which I am a big Trey Murphy fan. I wanted the Wizards to draft him. I have the post up to prove it. I love his game. But man, that's an aggressive number. That's a very aggressive number for a guy like that in a spot where he doesn't have much experience. So for me, why not take a guy who's also going to be taking those corner threes and also has himself guaranteed 40 minutes because he's a great defender in Herb Jones. So that's the only thing I got in that Pelicans Sacramento game. But I think Herb is very underrated in the market. But if you want more long shots, obviously make sure to follow on Twitter. There'll be more props as we go.
So what do you want me to put as your official? What do you want for your official long shot for today?
We'll do Highsmith 3 threes at plus 600. I think that's my favorite. I really do think they're undervaluing him. And we'll go for, a little more aggressive. Although we'll say 700. 700? You see a better price?
Did you say plus 700? Is that what you said?
Wait, what? I might have misspoke. It was 700 when I bet it. I think it's 600 now. So we'll do 600. I didn't mean to. to say both right there, obviously.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what we'll do. And if you want to get even crazier, I've already posted Bam 5 assists as an official play on Twitter, but maybe go Bam 6 assists, get a little extra plus money, combine them there. But I will say I bet a quarter unit on this one because I played the full ladder for me as well. So for transparency purposes, I would do a quarter unit instead of a half unit, and I'd use that other quarter unit on 2 threes at 175. So that way you're guaranteeing yourself a better shot at profit.
Beautiful. What book did you have Isaac props on?
It was, like I said, it was on ESPN and then FanDuel.
Okay, FanDuel there. I'm going to go with my long shot. I forgot I actually bet this already, so that's great. But hopefully that's because I'm going to be cashing it pretty easy. I'm going right back. I'm not getting greedy this time. I went greedy last time and went with Jordan for 22-1. Why not just go with the guy who's, like I said, the hottest hitter in baseball? Marcell Ozuna is absolutely heating up right now. Again, I like fading Andrew Heaney. And is more protection than any other lineup in the world than the Braves right here, dude. Like facing Austin Riley, who's 100-plus RBI season. Matt Olson, a 50 home run season. And then behind him is Marcell Ozuna, who hit 40 last year. So I love this spot for him. Dude absolutely has smoked left-handed pitching so far this year to a 360 batting average, a 196 WRC plus against lefties. Mind you, he's actually got a better WRC plus against righties this year at 211, right? Like this dude is on a tear. I like betting on these guys when they are like this and kind of on that little heater here. So Awoba close to 500 against both sides and on base percentage of 448 versus lefties. And guess what? If you're going to have a guy like Andrew Heaney throwing four-seam fastball slider, sign me up for a little Marcell Ozuna against or at home so far this year, a 1231 OPS. This dude is heating up. Sign me up for Marcell Ozuna. I'm all over this Braves team today.
I love it, man. I like these RBI props, and you mentioned it. I mean, talk about this lineup, right? I mean, there's opportunity everywhere, and that's really what you want in these. And it's interesting to see him priced not that differently from guys that have way worse players in front of them. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if that's something they're going to correct a little bit more in the season, right? Because I don't know. It's very interesting that if you look at like, a guy that, I don't have any, like a Torkelson, right? Who's got some solid guys in front of him, but not the Braves, right? It's similar prices for these kind of power hitters. So I like that you're taking advantage of it. So I love these RBIs. Definitely riding on Ozuna tonight.
Let's go. And that's the thing. That's why I had to ask you what the prop number was so I could be higher. But I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I did it last time. I got greedy and I fucking took the L because of Jordan and Ozuna hit for me. I'm like, hey, if you're going to hit for me that time, we're going to be right back with you and roll with you again. So Marcell Ozuna, 2 RBIs plus 350 to go along with Haywood Highsmith, 3 threes there. Stu, what do you got for the 36 people left with us 40 minutes in?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say I just checked just to make sure that the Isaac plays are still up there, and they're the same exact price on FanDuel right now. And while I went to check, I also want to say you should bet double-double for Isaac as well. So just throwing that out there, rebounds. I didn't mention that in my long, list of long shots, but Isaac double-double, another good one. Big fan of that guy this week. But yeah, I thought this was a great show today. A lot of good props in multiple sports. The last thing I wanted to say before we get out of here is a question to you. Do we have anything for this early MLB game? Tyone, we got cans on both sides. There's got to be something good in this one, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of mad. I wrote up an article for Pine yesterday on the same matchup, and it got canceled, right? It got rained out. I was on I don't know, Stu, can you hear me? Or are you out here? Well, what's going on here? I think I'm good on my end. I feel like I'm good on my end here. So I'll just go through. I am on the Cubs. I think Stu said he went out, but my bet in that game is the team total for the Cubs first 7 again. That is, I believe, 4.5 now plus 110. I was on it yesterday at 3.5 at minus 125. So unfortunate with that line movement for the day ahead, but we'll take it. That's going to be my bet in that first game. So thank you guys for tuning in. We'll get Stu's computer back up. I'm sure he'll be ready for Monday. But thank you guys so much. Hit that like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. And we'll make sure to get it rolling for you guys on Monday. So have a good one, guys. LP's back. You got to say anything? Are you good?
The internet baseball gods didn't want me to hear your play. I was struck down as soon as I asked that question. So whatever you just said, I'm sure was spectacular because oh my God, they got rid of me. But yeah, great show today. I don't know if I have anything else to add, but sorry about that. And
oh no, you're good.
Bets.
I was curious if it was me, but at least it wasn't on my end for the first time in a while. So we'll catch up Monday. Got more bets on Monday here. Make sure you're here at noon for the Monday show. And make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and we'll see you Monday, guys. Best of luck this weekend.